outdoors. Utah, I camped in a desert for a week and found fossils. That's pretty awesome. Camping in a desert is like way, way better than camping in the little KOA campground with 300 other people. South Carolina, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So South Carolina, when I go there to fossil hunt, I usually scuba dive there, and I get to see alligators up close. It might sound scary, but that's pretty cool for me, from a guy from Pennsylvania. I don't see alligators normally, so it's just a neat experience. And the second reason is I just like nature and history, and I'm just always fascinated by the miracle of fossils. They're older than I can even comprehend. Actually, like finding one that's never been seen before, or seen the light of day in millions and millions of years, is just a unique experience. Just to touch something like that, I can't even comprehend that. And a good example is even like little stuff. This little thing, I'll try and hold it still here this time. It's a piece of charcoal. It's not like just from the fire pit or anything. Just a little piece of charcoal. That charcoal is from Red Hill. It's a world-famous tetrapod site in central PA. It's not that far from me, so I can collect there a couple times a year. But that piece of charcoal is around 361 million years old. And that is just after plants actually started to form bark, tree bark. So this is actually a record of one of the world's first forest fires. I think that's pretty awesome. Like, this is charcoal from one of the very first forest fires on Earth. Like, that's pretty cool. Another one from Red Hill. I could show stuff all day, but this will be the last one here. Another one from Red Hill is this thing. Again, it doesn't really look like much. I'm going to hold it really, really, really still. What that is a fin support. It's a really, really robust fin support from a Hyneria animal. And that fin support kind of goes along the fin. This fish had this really robust support. Some people call it a leg. And also fingers, lots and lots of fingers. So it's kind of like a fish with feet. This is cool. I found a foot of a fish. That's like during the time period where there's a blurred lines between tetrapods and fish when they're first coming out on land. Fish had feet, tetrapods had fins. It was a real crazy time period. And lastly, the third reason is why I want to say why we should collect is it's one of the few hobbies where we can actually contribute to science. And it's one place where science actually needs amateurs. And I'm going to just jump to this PowerPoint again. It's going to be another couple clicks here. I'm going to go sharing. I probably disappeared. I'm going to share my screen, share the desktop. Here. Okay, so this just shows I'd rather be false on. You could be sitting at home playing Pokemon, or you could be finding dinosaur teeth. I'd rather be finding dinosaur teeth. And I suppose you could do both. This one has a Pokemon in a museum, Orlando Science Center. And one thing I just want to say before I move on to why this is important to science, why they need it. You don't actually need to find fossils. You don't actually need to collect fossils. There's dinosaur trackways in Bureau of Land Management land out west. You're not allowed to collect there, but you can still go take pictures of them, enjoy them. There's Dinosaur National Monument out west. There's a Petrified National Forest in Arizona. Big Bone Lick Park in Kentucky. You can go there and see these Pleistocene, these Ice Age mammals there, and the actual bogs that they actually came out of. So you can just go and enjoy fossils. You actually don't have to collect them. It's still as rewarding just to see something that old. And these pictures you see down here is a couple weeks ago I was in Ireland. There's a remote part in the south end of Ireland called Valentia Island. And what you see is tetrapod tracks. That's one of the world's oldest and longest tetrapod trackways. Obviously, I'm not going to take a chisel and dig it up. Take pictures of it. So you can, you can see fossils. You can hunt for them, but you actually don't have to collect them. And I still find that's very, very rewarding. Okay, I'm going to go back to the screen sharing thing and jump back to the discussion. Okay, so what I want to talk about then is just, again, the third reason is, that we can actually contribute to real science. And what I like to say is amateur paleontologists, people like you and me, are actually the workhorses of paleontology. And I gave a speech at the Southeast GSA meeting in 2016 with the Fossil Project. And while there, I listened to all the other presentations. And there's a nice one about the role of avocational amateur paleontologists. I think Linda McCall did it. Really nice presentation. I'm just going to share some facts that she found. What it is many amateur fossil clubs are actively involved with professional paleontologists and museums. And fossil clubs are just made up of the, all the amateurs. They donate thousands of man-hours in field work. So they basically work for free digging up stuff for paleontologists. They donate thousands and thousands of specimens. Now you think thousands of specimens, she kind of specifies that most are just invertebrates. Amateurs actually make most of the new fossil discoveries. And there's a statistic out there from PaleoQuest that 75% of scientifically relevant specimens were actually donated by amateurs. Again, they're mostly invertebrates, but just think 75% of specimens that are relevant to science are actually just donated by amateurs. So without amateurs, paleontologists would not have 75% of the fossils to study. So you kind of hear it all the time in the news when new fossil discoveries are made. Like last year, amateur fossil hunter finds a new hadrosaur, the first ever hadrosaur in the southeastern United States. That was found by a group of amateurs. They helped just find and excavate mammoth skeleton in some football field in the Midwest there. I think an amateur recently found a new species of dinosaur. So amateurs play a really important role in professional paleontology. And I feel privileged to be part of that, to actually be out there looking for these things, to try and find scientifically valuable stuff that paleontologists want and want to study. So again, I think it's better than like Pokemon hunting. I mean, what's better than paleontology there? So what I want to do is just go over like some fossil hunting tools. And again, I'm going to kind of stay brief on this point because the October 19th webinar is with, I think, Dave Butler. He's going to make a few points for excavating fossils, so he's probably going to cover this more than me. So I just wanted to just hone in one point on here, is that the type of tools that you need for fossil hunting. And basically you need glue, because everything you find is always just broken. But besides just glue, uncovering fossils differs vastly from place to place. At the Calvert Cliffs in Maryland or Big Brook in New Jersey, you don't really need anything. You just need a good set of eyes to walk around in creek hunt or beach combs just to find the fossils. Obviously, a sifter works well for gravel areas, like a little shovel and sifter. This also works good for Florida and look like the riverbeds. And they actually make these cool things. I'm going to go find it here. It's like a shark tooth sifter. It's like a shovel and sifter all in one. So all you gotta do is just scoop it, flip it, shake it, and then it just sifts it for you. So these are pretty cool. They're really handy if you don't want to carry like two things around on there. Now, if you're fossil hunting in like Ohio or Oklahoma, it's way, way different. You can't use a shovel and sifter. You're just going to hit stone. Usually there's going to be like heavy limestone or dolomite, so you need like heavy hammers and chisels. Even like the rock hammers don't do it. Like you need like big, like 10-pound hammers, kind of like this, and the real big chisels. I like the chisels with the ends on them here. These like little safety ends. That way, when you're pounding, you don't smash your finger. The first time you smash your finger, you're going to start buying ones like this with the little safety ends on them. It's kind of a horrible experience to only have 4 fingers or 3 fingers or whatever. Kind of horrible experience. So in those kind of places, you need to crack open hard limestones and stuff to actually find this stuff. And around Pittsburgh, it's a little bit different. There's not hard limestones that you fossil hunt. It's just like soft shells. They're really, really thin. They're really, really flaky. So if you try and use one of those big chisels, one of these big guys with it, you're just going to crush everything up into like just powder. So what you actually need is these really, really wide and thin chisels instead. Something like this, where it's really skinny, but then they're really wide. That way you can actually pry underneath them and get the stuff up. And what you're actually trying to pull up is large plates of shell. And if you can get a plate up about this size, where's the webcam? There you are. If you can get a plate up about this size, hopefully something will be on it. Now this one, there's really like not much on it. It's called we call it a hash plate because it's just all kinds of debris on it. But if you get a piece up this big, and notice how thin this thing is. So again, you have to work at it with really, really wide and thin chisels to actually get it up. And what your hopes are is that this thing will have like a nice fern frond on it or something. It's just a real nice fern like right in the center. Most of the time it's this. It's just a little hash plate. I think I kept this because there was something on the back that I wanted to get. But again, the point is you have to use really, really thin, wide chisels to actually get this up, or you just end up getting like little bits and pieces. And if it was a big fern on there, it would just be crumble up, if you didn't get a big piece up. Okay, so that's just all I want to go about is just the tools for fossiling, because again, the other webinars are going to get a little bit more detail. What I want to concentrate more on is how do you actually find a fossil site, or how do you get into this hobby? And there's actually a bunch of ways to do this. So what I want to do is just go over like the best ways to actually get into the hobby or find a good fossil club. And one thing is, what I just said is find a good fossil club. Go on the internet, just type in fossil clubs in whatever state you're in. Florida, I saw someone there from Ohio. Just type it in, fossil clubs in blank state. My website has a little link section with all kinds of fossil clubs in. And look for a good club and join it. There's tons of them across the country. And when you join them, it's like they're cheap. They're like $15 to $30, and it's well worth it. You can gain access to places where individuals just might not be able to collect at. You'll gain a wealth of knowledge about fossils of that local area, if you attend the meetings and talk to people about it. So it's probably the best way to get into the hobby, or just to go into new, just to find locations. You can get into really good locations. Some of those quarries that dig up all those trilobites, you can get right into those with fossil clubs. So if you want to get into a hobby, the first thing you should do is find a fossil club near you and join it. I can't stress that enough. The second thing is, it's read a book. Just find a book and read it. And a lot of you guys are like, do books still exist? I just have a cell phone and a tablet. There are Kindle versions of all the books too, well, most of them. So books are still useful. There's tons and tons of good books. Like if I go to Ohio, I'm buying a Ohio Rocks book. And it has tons and tons of locations for, like this webcam's, there we go, tons and tons of locations showing fossil places, neat geologic things. It's just a nice read. You learn about Ohio a lot before you actually go there to collect. If I'm more into a specific place in Ohio, this is probably the best Ohio book out there, The Fossils of Ohio. And it goes over every single fossil in the state. It's a great identification guide. But just dig into books. If you're in North Carolina, look, they got fossil collecting in North Carolina. I mean, every state has books. In the trilobites, Pictorial Guide to Trilobites. And you can learn all about trilobites before you actually go there and start getting them. If you're into vertebrates, like if you're at the Calvert Cliffs, you find like dolphin bones, or you're down in Florida and find mammal bones or stuff. Vertebrate Fossils, a Neophyte's Guide. This is like my go-to resource book for identifying my fossils. So it's join a club, get a book, read the book. You'll learn a whole lot about it. Another thing to read are older publications, like actual journals. A lot of old journals, they have information about fossils in your area if you find the right ones. And most of those actually give the exact site information. So if you want to find like an older fossil site, you can actually look into the journals. You can see what they're finding there. You can learn a whole lot about that area. And you can actually find the exact sites. Now, since they're older publications, a lot of those sites don't exist. I have a publication around my house in the Pittsburgh area, and most of those sites are now like strip malls and stuff, or they've been destroyed by widening roads. But if you find locations, you're going to bet nearby road cuts are going to have the same fossils on them. So they are really, really useful. So get regular books just to learn about it. Look at old publications. Look for fossil sites. Join a fossil club. And the other thing is obviously search the internet. And be careful on the internet because there's a lot of bad websites out there. I'm not just talking about like those cute kitty cat sites on Pinterest, or like watching a dog bark or do flips or something, like those kind of sites. There's a lot of sites with just misinformation out there. And everyone's trying to make a buck. So, I mean, there's lots of just sensationalized things out there that you got to avoid. So let me go back to this little PowerPoint here. And it should have appeared. I think you guys all see it. So these are just examples of like some irresponsible sites, like stuff that talks about living megalodons. Are they still alive? They could still be out there. One site has there's T-Rex in Congo, or was it someplace in South America? But Tyrannosaurus Rex sightings. A lot of these sites blow paleontology discoveries or facts way out of proportion. And these are three sites that tend to do it. Some look scientific, like livescience.com. The hub pages, there's a big education site on there. There's a big paleontology site on that one. And it's just horrible, sensationalized stuff. So you got to watch when you're on the internet as to what you're actually going to. Now, responsible sites, the point responsible site, or at least the point that I feel a responsible site is, because I run a website, is just to convey information, to actually break down important scientific information to the general public. And this is a horrible statistic, but if you just read this, 50% of U.S. adults read below an 8th grade level. That's pretty low. And if you look at it, once you get up to about a college level, it drops down to about 5%. So if you want to actually pick up a journal to read about Megalodon, only 5% of the population is actually going to read that and comprehend it. So how do they actually learn about Megalodons or other things about paleontology? And that's through these responsible fossil websites. It takes information and breaks it down on a lower level. And what I like to call these sites is that little lighthouse, or like little beacons of light. Just beacons of light to get through all this misinformation. So here's a good example. Just make scientific information more accessible to a vast audience for these fossil websites. On the left here is a very nice research article on Megalodon. And it's written at a 15th grade level if you run that through a little reading tool. No 5th grade. What that means is an advanced college level. And on the other side is my Megalodon page. And it's only at a 10th grade level. And if you look, there's pictures on it, spaced out better, there's little stuff. It's just a more pleasant read than the journal. Obviously, there's not as much information as the journal has, but it's more accessible to vast audience. Mine gets about 8,000 views a month. Views are over 5 minutes of view, so they're actually reading it. The journal article probably only got 8,000 views total. So again, I think one of the main roles of fossil websites, including mine, is just to make science, make paleontology accessible to the public, to pique their interest, to get outreach going. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, or the web here. There it goes. It's like 5 buttons to click. Okay, there I am. Okay, so also with the internet, obviously you can go to internet sites. Again, just be careful of the bad ones. You can do an online search for fossil hunting in your area, and you're going to get tons and tons of results. You'll probably end up, if you live in Mid-Atlantic, probably get my website. It has like 14 fossil hunting sites. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. There's like locations, maps, directions, tips, identification pages, and there's lots of other websites like that for other places. So just use them. They're a resource. They're your friend. That's what they're on the internet for you to use. Another cool thing is Google Maps or Google Earth. They basically serve the same purpose in this case. It's a really cool thing. It makes it really, really easy to scout out new locations, like new road cuts and other locations. So you have to before you had to find like geologic maps and topographic maps and compare them, drive around to find road cuts. Now you can just do that all on Google Maps, like sitting at home. So let me just show you just a couple examples of what I mean here. I'm going to do the screen sharing again. Share my screen, desktop, and there we go, screen sharing. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the internet here. And I already have these preloaded. This is near Maysville, Kentucky. This is one of the more famous road cuts. I just want to find a couple big ones that are easy to see. But on Google Maps here, you see all these little roads everywhere. So if I actually zoom in more, I know this is kind of slow, so I'm just going to scroll real slow. I'm just going to scroll right up to one. But if you just scroll around, you can actually identify road cuts. Can anyone see the road cut in this picture? Get rid of that thing. It's right in this area here, right here. See these little lines? This is a massive, massive road cut. So if I want to investigate more, what I can do is take this little cool dude here, this little yellow dude, and just drop him right in there. And I can actually see if this is an actual road cut. And this is probably one of the most beautiful road cuts in the United States. Just use that as an example. And I'm going to scroll over here. Hopefully it's not too slow for you guys. And you can see this is a massive, massive road cut. And this cuts right through the Silurian. So there's going to be trilobites, there's going to be brachiopods, there's going to be corals, crinoids, all kinds of cool stuff in here. And if you're afraid of parking on the shoulder there, you can also look for places to park. So if we go forward a tiny bit, you can see there's actually a side road right here. You can park along that little side road and walk along that side road also. So that's one example. I use this in West Virginia a lot because I'm kind of near there. I used it in Kentucky when I went to Kentucky last summer. So I'm just going to show you one from West Virginia. This is near Elkins, West Virginia. If this is your I apologize. I kind of just randomly found one here. But this is Elkins. So if I zoom in a little bit, and I know it's slow. I'm trying to go really slow here. What you can see is, again, you see these series of parallel lines, or it could be snow. So what you can do is take your little person again and drop them right in. I'm going to drop them right on this highway here. Hopefully it won't get hit by a car. I think he'll get hit by a car. Oh, no cars. He didn't get hit by a car. But this is a nice little road cut here. And it looks like it's way off the road, so it's kind of safe to go to. And again, why was, oh, he almost got hit by a car there. Looking for is this little pull-off. So you can actually safely park here, and then you can safely walk along here, and then see if there's any fossils along this area. And what you're going to find here is Carboniferous fossils on here. So what you can do on Google Maps is actually, if you know you're going to be going somewhere, you can actually just virtually take the road trip. Just zoom in on the roads until you see cut-like features. Drop that little person down and actually see if it's a road cut. See if it's safe to collect at. See if it's easily accessible. You can park your car somewhere. It makes life so much easier. And most road cuts you can collect at. So allow you to collect at most road cuts. Sometimes the interstates are off limits, but most places will let you collect on those road cuts there. So let's go back to the share my screen here. Stop sharing. And discussion. There we go. Everyone see me again? Okay. So just to sum up, what I highly recommend if you're just getting into the field of paleontology, amateur paleontology, join a club. A club is the best way to go. Go on their field trips, meet people, get a book about your area, read new and old journals about fossils in your area. And another one is online message forums. And you guys might know some online message forums. A new one is the Fossil Project. On community.myfossil.org, they actually have a little user area where you can actually post questions. It's a really nice site. Also, a big one out there is the fossilforum.com. For example, like if you're going to Calvert Cliffs, there's threads going back years about the Calvert Cliffs. You can do all the research. You can research for days and days on that site, just looking at all the user groups and all the forums and all the conversations about the Calvert Cliffs. It's a really, really nice site. So what I recommend is use those online message forums. Become a member, talk to people, and you can even become friends on it. And you can meet people in the field. It's really great sites. And then also you can use like quality fossil sites. So like real quick, like the Calvert Cliffs as an example. If you Google Calvert Cliffs, you're going to come up with the Calvert Marine Museum. So what I recommend is go to Calvert Marine Museum, look at all the fossils that they have before you actually start collecting there. It has a really great display of fossils from the cliffs. Victor worked there for a little while. He loves the cliffs. He actually grew up in that area. It's a really nice museum there. They actually have rooms full of these fossils. So before you actually go out collecting, actually go there and see what you're going to find, see what they actually look like, and it helps out a lot. You can talk to staff, you can talk to volunteers in the little prep room there. It's great. You can go on Google Maps and just see where all the parks are and stuff, where you can actually access the cliffs at. There's lots of places, and then you can research a bit more on the net, and you're probably going to find my website. It's like a one-stop shop about the cliffs. So let me just show you some stuff about the Calvert Cliffs you can see. So I'm going to go back to sharing here, share my screen. I'm starting to get used to this, and we're going to go to the internet. So here is the Calvert Cliffs. You can learn all about. You can watch videos of hunting, but you can actually learn about all the geology of the cliffs. You can places to find the fossils. It gives you a little map there. All the safety stuff, all the legal stuff, and then it actually gives you a bunch of sites here. And I'll scroll slow because it's probably really jumpy here. And so there's a bunch of places, like 6 places. Go. One's a museum, but there's a bunch of places there. You can see fossils that can be found. You can load up ID sheets. You can look at recommended books. So Fossils of Calvert Cliffs, they sell this out at the museum there. You can buy it from the museum online. Fossil Shark Teeth of the World. Fossil Sharks of the Chesapeake Bay region is a really good one. If you can find it, it's out of print. But it's a book, so you can get good book, start researching it just from that. You can go to identification. Once you do collect, you can just jump right to identification place. And if you found ray teeth, you can show what they are. Crocodiles, odontocetes, these all the toothed whales and stuff. Baleen whales, squalodons. If you don't know what a squalodon is, you can go over a little squalodon link and learn all about squalodons. And you can see there's actually an excavation. I actually found one in the museum, excavated it, and one of my friends, Paul, found another one right above that, and they excavated it also. So that's pretty cool. You can do identification. So click on shark teeth. You can match up all your teeth, so you don't have to sit there and try and figure out what everything is. You can just look right on here. Oh, look, it's a snaggletooth, or it's a tiger shark, or it's a cow shark. And then you click on that, and it'll give you a lot more information about it. And then finally, you can actually look at the tides and stuff, because if you collect at the Calvert Cliffs, it's along the Chesapeake Bay, so you get the high tide, low tide stuff. So you really have to pay close attention to the winds and the tides. So this side here, it gives you, you can click on any one of these. This shows you what the wind is like. And actually the wind actually looks pretty good. Here's the cliffs here. It should be blowing away from the cliffs. If it blows toward the cliffs, that means the water's going to be. So it looks pretty good there. Okay, now it's taking a turn for the worse. So yeah, about tomorrow it's going to be horrible at the cliffs. Water is going to be blowing right in. So you can actually look at the winds. You can look at the tides for the next few days and see when low tide, because if you get there at high tide, the beach is going to be covered, so you kind of need to be there around low tides. But this is like a one-stop shop. So just by researching on the internet, you can find sites like this, a lot of sites like this where you can find this information from. So let me jump back to the screen, maybe. There we go. And that concludes my presentation. Again, just a real general presentation on how to get into fossil hunting, how to find locations online, what kind of websites to stay away from, what kind of websites to get close to. So I guess we can go back to Victor, and he can open up for the Q&A session, and hopefully I can answer your questions.
Just had to get that microphone. All right, that was awesome. Thank you, Jason. I applaud you. So if anyone wants to just start typing questions into the chat box, I will read them off and let Jason respond to them. I know we've already had at least one or two. So Jason, I'm going to re-type it into the chat box so you can read it, but I'll also say it again. So this one was from C.L. Stead, in which wanted to know any info on stratigraphic study to identify fossil-bearing material and understanding core samples of the USGS site. So,
oh, that's a tough one. I have not been to the USGS site for a while, so I'm not sure how they have it set up. I don't know if there's they usually have maps available, so you can actually see the surface stratigraphy. They have maps for each state. I'm not sure about the core sampling. You might have to go into some research articles about that. I know around this area they have the Marcellus Shell, so there's lots of journal publications on what the core samples entail. Like I know the Need for formation is right underneath me after the Marcellus Shell, just because of core samples. But how I found that out is actual research articles about that with oil and gas. Yeah, so I'd basically just browse through USGS and see if you can find publications where they mention core samples, and then if you find the area that you want, if you find the core samples from the area, they'll actually describe them all. I know at least they do it around here for the Marcellus Shell and the Need more information. I guess the Utica Shell, which is underneath that, which is the other oil-producing one.
All right. Another question. This one's derived from a comment by Linda McCall. How do you know about legality of collecting? So like if you're on Google Maps or Google Earth, how do you know you're in an area that you can actually collect in legally without getting a permit, or if you need a permit?
Well, that varies by state to state. Obviously, private property you cannot collect unless you have permission. Usually state road cuts are owned by the state, so you can collect the stuff that's fallen off the road cuts in most states. Now, there's some restrictions. I'll just cover a couple of states, but if you go online, actually the fossil forum, if you type in collecting regulations in the state that you're looking for, there's going to be threads that come up for it. But just a couple of states like Maryland, if you're at the Calvert Cliffs, private property stops at the high tide line, the mean high tide mark. So that means you're allowed to be below the high tide mark, so around the water near the low tide line, you're legally allowed to collect fossils there. Obviously, you can't touch the cliffs. The cliffs are all private property. You don't want to go near the cliffs anyhow because you're going to fall on you and crush your head. So that's Maryland, but then just right across from Maryland is Virginia, and it's completely different there. The private property stops at the low tide line. So legally, you can't even get onto a beach to fossil collect. You have to stay out into the water. That's why there's all these nice fossil sites in Maryland, but not in Virginia, and that's because of the legal issues. Virginia, you can't really go up to a beach to collect. It's illegal. It's someone's backyard. Florida, you need a fossil permit. Actually, Florida and South Carolina, Florida, you need a fossil permit to collect vertebrates. Now, they allow shark teeth collecting in invertebrates, but if you're like in the Peace River collecting, you're usually going to find vertebrate fossils of like mammals. So what you need to do is get a permit, and the permit is relatively cheap, but it's just a way that they can keep track of who's actually collecting the fossils there. And artifacts are off limits in Florida, but you can have a permit to collect vertebrates. In South Carolina, you can collect shark teeth unless you're diving. If you're diving, you need a hobby license to collect fossils if you're diving in South Carolina. Then you have to do like an annual report. So it does vary by state by state. Again, you really have to just look up that state, and the easiest way to do it is you just Google it. You're going to find the answer because usually someone else has already been at that state fossil hunting, so they know the legal stuff. Fossil Forum is a good place to search for that.
Okay, let me scroll up here.
Kind of
Get
questions.
a couple more of these. All right, so this is from the My Fossil webinar forum. How do you think the internet and social media have affected current fossil collecting and the fossil world? Positive and or negative aspects?
Yeah, I think overall it's had a positive impact. Obviously, the internet's affected everything, including fossil hunting. One of the big complaints I hear is, you post sites on the internet, like my website, I have 14 sites on the internet. That's going to make millions of people go to those sites and dig them all out. But I think that's just a result of just populations increasing, so there's going to be more people out there fossil hunting. I think it's really had a positive effect, and the main thing that I've seen is not just to make it easier to find fossil locations, but it makes collaboration very, very simple. And when I mean collaboration, I don't just mean with amateur groups or groups of amateurs, but with professionals and amateurs working together. And again, the Fossil Project is a great example of this. The Fossil Forum is pretty cool also. Because it has a mix of professionals and amateurs, and you really don't know who's who half the time, and they're all just collaborating and working together. Someone asks, well, I'm researching this, do you have any, I'm researching X, do you have any of Y? I'm kind of simplifying it there, and then, someone will respond, oh yeah, I have this, is what you're looking for, and, then they collaborate and they research, specimens end up getting donated. So I think it's really, really helped collaboration between amateurs and professionals. I think that's probably the most positive impact the internet's had.
All right, and the follow-up question to that is, what made you start your website, fossilguy.com?
I found fossils, I don't even know how long, maybe 16, 17 years ago. I found a couple fossils, didn't know what they were, so I tried to get them identified. I emailed, or I didn't email at that time, but I went to a local museum, and basically everyone just kept brushing me off and stuff, so I never quite figured out what they were. And I was into, before the internet, they had like bulletin boards where you could, dial up with your phone, just like ages ago. I was kind of used to, just the internet when it first came out. So I made up the website so I could actually post my fossils on to get them identified. I could post pictures of my fossils there, and I could email people, hey, what are these? And then people could actually look at them because it was hard to send attachments of pictures back then. So that's how it originally was started. And then as it grew, more and more people started using the site to identify their own fossils. So I started to make like just general like fossil sites. Like the Calvert Cliffs site, like the Western New York site, just to help people just get their bearings. Kind of like what I say, like it's a one-stop shop. And more recently, it's I've done, just more general articles just to disseminate scientific information to the general public. So it started as one thing, it turned into another, and now it's another thing. I think it's a good resource for everybody to either fossil hunt or just learn about paleontology.
All right. Another question here from Cassie. What's an artifact? So can you distinguish between an artifact and a fossil for the rest of us?
Yeah, artifact is man-made. A fossil is not. So most common artifacts are like arrowheads, clay pottery, anything that Native Americans have made, at least in the United States. Those are all artifacts. If it's a shark tooth that's been worn, like sometimes like Native Americans would actually shave them down into like scrapers and spear points, that would technically be an artifact. But an artifact is anything that like from the past that Native Americans, at least in this country, that Native Americans have made. Where a fossil is a trace or remain of an animal, like shark teeth, bones, stuff like that.
All right. Does anyone have other questions they'd like to type into the chat box? Because I'm not sure that I've seen any new ones that I've missed.
Someone asked any fossil clubs around Philadelphia. A really good one is the Delaware Valley Paleontological Society. It's called DVPS. It's probably one of the best clubs in the Northeast area. I'm a member of it. I would just search for DVPS. It's the best club. They meet at the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. One of the best clubs out there.
All right. Last chance for any comments. Otherwise, we will thank Jason for his time and thank everyone for participating in our first webinar.
Yeah, I see all these artifact comments. Yeah, be careful. You can't really collect artifacts in a lot of places. It's different than fossils.
Oh, they're coming in fast now.
And Delaware Valley DVPS. It's a couple miles from New Jersey. That's probably the best one for you, for Fossil Club in New Jersey.
So, Victor, this is Bruce. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bruce.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that before everybody signs off, because it's just about the hour is just about finished,
Sure.
make sure that everybody knows about the survey, please. It's really important that we get feedback. Yeah.
Here it is one more time.
Yeah, please fill that out. This is the first one. So it'll be great if you guys can give us information on how to make these things better, and
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna sign off now, I think. Again, the link is there. We will post the recording of this on the MyFossil website. However, I will say I apologize. We started it late, so the recording starts partway through the talk. But it will be on MyFossil, and of course, everyone should go on to MyFossil to continue the conversation there. So thank you all again.
Okay, thank you, everybody.